Raise your hand if you've ever been busy. Raise your hand if you've ever got tired and feel like you just need a couple days off. Most people would have both hands up right now. That's our world, fast-paced and income-driven. That's why we get caught up in our own lives so often, and that's why it's understandable when most people don't focus on worries that aren't their own. So what makes someone become a humanitarian? Someone whose whole life focuses on the welfare of other humans.
When you go back and you see kids that were living on the streets, kids had no structure, they had no routine, people who had nothing, they didn't have meals. When you see that they're all of a sudden they're waking up, they have structure, they have something to do, they have a meal in their belly, their life changes completely. They, like I said, their self-esteem changes, their self-worth, their ability to know who they are in the world and what they have the potential of becoming, you know, to give that hope, to give that dream, and then to watch people actually use that to do good for themselves and others it's amazing. It becomes an addiction.
And with Serena's help, we'll find the meaning of life to a humanitarian.
My body becomes like a cement. Oh my God.
That was the better one.
Okay. Oh my God. It's like magic. Literally like magic.
Not my skill set, nor do I want to learn it.
Sometimes, because I put up stuff which I kind of test in the wilderness. I don't know if I was the best one to teach them that. However, and although it was a really good when you said, I was like, oh,
the baby out with the bathwater.
I do know where that.
So for me, rather than doing something half-heartedly or like just half. There we are. Good morning.
Good morning, Queen.
How are you doing this morning?
You know what? I'm here every Wednesday
You're here
to be with the lovely Queen Barbara, my side partner, my other queen, just to talk about happiness. Nothing else. No negative.
No negative.
No negative. Or learning experience. We always say, we take and we flip it and we make it a learning experience. Yeah.
In a learning experience. And it's so funny because, I'm Barbara Ellison. I'm Barbara Ellison. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. And one of the things that I have been really working on is that, I work with late career business professionals who are facing retirement, and they're not, they're facing stress. They want to overcome stress. They want to overcome declining health. They also want to take care of financial, uncertainty. Those are the things that are happening with retirement. Well, one of the things that I've been studying just in this last couple of weeks is change. Retirement is change. And do we like to change? Not usually.
Yeah, some people have real problems with that.
we get in our comfort zone.
Yeah.
And we not necessarily like to change. And so, but you know what? Change is good. So that's what I think we're just going to talk about, and it's the story of why we've changed. And that's one of the things I'm so excited to have PeggyLee here, because she's a storyteller and publisher. And so of just telling our story of how we have had to change, because it's in the changing that we grow. And I just heard a bit of a sermon yesterday that if we're not growing, we're stagnating or coasting.
Yeah.
So important. So is what you're facing right now. Everybody's facing stuff in their life right now. Sometimes some of it's really good. Congratulations and go for it. Some of it is not so good. And learn. And so what do you learn? What's God's trying to teach you through it?
I want to say something about that.
Let's go. So who are you, first of all? Miss Barbara Beckley.
Well, my name is Barbara J. Beckley. I am a purpose and visibility strategist. I help people basically be seen in their gifts. So people understand who they are, what they do, what they help people for, and basically do what is really, really important in their lives for themselves through this world, through this life. And I'm just like that. I always tell people, I'm like your cheerleader. I'm the one that, find ways to get you out there and just people to get to know who you are. Because if you're hidden and you got a special gift, that's not going to work. We need to know who you are. So that's what I do through shows, through interviews, basically just letting people know that you got this, you can be out there. So I wanted to answer the question when you said about even things changes that don't feel so good. And we go through good changes and bad, and then we learn. So just to take a person, okay, talking about story, just to take you on a little trip just a month and a half ago for myself, and Barbara knows this, I had some big health challenges to the point where I was in the hospital, not one time, but went right back a second time within 1 week, to the point where I found I had blood clots around my lungs. Now, when I first heard that, when the nurse told me, and I was like, what? Sometimes you get that reaction, and it's like, what do you mean? Look, I said, how did? And the first thing, this is me, Barbara. How did that happen? What did I do? I'm thinking to myself, what are you talking about? And she's like, okay, Miss Betty, you calm down. I said, no, I'm calm. I'm just trying to figure out what happened. I mean, where did it come from?
How did this happen?
Right. And
why did this happen to me? I was like,
well, I said, I feel, and it's funny because she was asking me, do you feel like your heart, they ask you all those questions. And I'm like, no. And they said, let's check your blood pressure. I'm like, it's okay. You checked it before, So I'm trying to figure out, okay, I'm feeling okay. Why all of a sudden you're telling me this, what's going on in my body? So after I took that in a little bit more, and then they said, this is serious because they explain, if it gets and you can die from this. I'm like, okay. I think, what are you going to do? We have a plan? Because I really don't want to die right now. I really don't want to die. And I didn't cry. I just was telling them, I said, can we just avoid this right now? I think I want to be here a little while longer if, he says so. And so the nurses laughed and they said, Barbara, even through tough times, because they know me, they say, you still find the funny. I said, you know what? Because me sitting here getting like crazy right now is not going to help the situation. In fact, you're talking about next to my lungs. I don't want to make it worse. So right now I'm just going to be calm. You tell me what needs to be done and let's move forward. Now, I'm human. Wait, 6 hours later, after I'm in the hospital, I'm laying in the bed. They have the IV hooked up to me. Yeah, did Barbara cry a little bit? Yeah, she cried a little bit because I'm only human. And this was scary. But before I, I had to take myself and calm myself down. So that was my learning experience, even through the fire, like people say, sound like the through the fire, the song, to live it to the world. Even through that, you still have to make that decision. As you always say, Barb, we always say, what decision you're going to make to move forward? And I think with change and dealing with things like that, you really have to look at the bigger picture and say to yourself, okay, this is happening. What am I going to do? This can go a different route if I take a different route. Yeah.
Right. And exactly. And that's one of the things that sometimes change can reduce your stress. You chose to look at it differently.
Mm-hmm.
And we have that choice every single solitary day. And the thing is that one of the myths about change, and I'm reading all this stuff about change. One of the myths is that people think that it's going to take a long time for change. It's going to take so long for that to change. Well, no, it can change in an instant. Your life changed in an instant. And that's why PeggyLee says she has a really good story for us to hear.
We're gonna bring Queen PeggyLee in a minute to hear that. But I like when you said that, Barbara, because with the change, it's up to you to see how fast or how long it's going to take. I mean, I had to literally change my whole eating habits within 2 days. Everything.
Yep, exactly.
And Barbara, the old Barbara,
that was your choice.
And that was my choice because I wanted to live. I wanted to keep going. It was like, how something happens in your life and it's like, okay, yes, okay, I get it now. I get it. Let's just do this. And
I call them instant downloads. Those instant downloads.
And I made that instant change because I know I needed to do it. I know I needed to change my whole habits of eating and stuff. And I kept saying, well, yes. And then I was like, well, it's not like I eat a whole lot of food and I'm doing all that. I was trying to like,
of course, denial
out of it.
Denial. It's not my fault.
It's not my fault. I don't eat all that. I eat that sometimes, and I don't, and things like. And I was like, Barbara, not this Barbara here, not this Barbara, this Barbara saying, be real with yourself. Even though you might not eat that much, you're not eating the right foods. You're not eating 3 meals a day. You're not doing what you need to do. So stop it. Do you want to be back in the hospital? Because sometimes we got to talk to ourselves like that. And I got home, Barbara, and stuff that I knew that wasn't supposed to be here, I threw it out or I gave it away if it was good. And I just stocked up, and then I looked at things online. I got the stuff that the doctor and the nurse gave me, the list of things I need to get. And I just, got stocked up in the kitchen, put everything what I needed to do. And I've been doing that now for a month and a half. And I'm telling you, Barbara, just to change that quickly and see the progress with that. I am so happy that I went down that road. But it didn't take that long. I'm thinking it was going to take long. I mean, I'm still getting used to certain things, but some things it's not. It's like, okay, you got to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And right. You can change. Things can change in an instant.
Yeah. If you let it.
And key, Mike, as you say, mic drop. If you let it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that deserves a moment of silence for it to land on someone. This is one of those moments that was for you, whoever you are. You know who you are. And the thing is, though, you might be hearing this a year from now and coming back to this as a replay.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll know. I truly believe that when things land on us, we know it's for us.
Yes. Yeah.
And you get to choose.
You get to choose
what you're going to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where that's why change, we don't like it. We try to hide from it sometimes. We try to rationalize it. Well, it's not me, but I think what the biggest thing is that it's because we have to change what we believe. Yes. If we have believed something for all our lives, for our whole life, and all of a sudden now we are faced with, all right, I have to change what I believe. Mm-hmm. And it might not be something that the rest of the people around you like, but you have to do it for you. So do it for you. If you know that something in your life has to change, do it for you. Doesn't matter what anybody else says.
Yeah. You got to do it for yourself. Yes. I love it.
Because you deserve it.
Yeah.
We deserve it.
Yeah.
Like I've been working through a bit of it's like, okay, it just keeps coming back to, okay, God, you're just making me trust you in this, okay. And but sometimes we have to think about it every 30 seconds. All right, Lord, I'll turn this over to you. I'm
Yeah.
giving this over to you. I'm giving this over to you. So yeah. So I can't wait to bring up PeggyLee. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I was going to say this, and then we'll go to our sponsor before we bring the queen up. But I was thinking when you said about change and just doing it for yourself, and I was just thinking like, this is not only helping me in any situation, but you have to pick the learning experience sometimes. Right. You just said something about you might have to wait. Things take a little bit longer than the norm. You're sitting there like, okay, it's been 2 years, been 3 years, been 10 years or whatever. What's going on? And I always tell myself, I say, okay, Barbara, this is a time where you got to choose, again, making that choice of what are you getting out of this? Not just pain of not being patient.
well, exactly. We are an instant society.
Yeah, it's like, oh, Lord, I've been waiting forever. This is taking too long. Oh no, I needed this like yesterday. You know how we go into that thing. And then you have to stop and say, well, you know what? Maybe this is not the right time. And I have to have it in my head to say, it's going to take some time. Or sometime it might not happen at all because you might think it's good for you, but then it might not be. And it's not. And you're sitting there waiting and hoping and praying and all that stuff. Because one time I had to tell myself, I said, all this I've been praying all this, I've been saying the wrong prayer because this is not good for me. And I'm just realizing this now.
Exactly.
So, sometimes you got to just be real with yourself and say, okay, the reason why it's not happening, this might be a good thing that
right. It's a good thing that it didn't happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So you got to tell us.
If we got everything we asked for in the moment, oh brother, we would be in a world of hurt.
Oh God. Yeah. To the point you ask yourself, now why did that happen?
Why did that?
This shouldn't have happened this quick.
This was not good. But again, it was our choice. And now we have to live with it. But and that comes back to, for me, it's that mess up, fess up, take the heat, and then go on.
Sometimes I do a lot of fess up lately. With that. So we want to bring our queen up, but first we want to give some love to our sponsors. So as soon as our sponsor comes on, we'll be right back, and we'll be with PeggyLee Hanson about a simple path to storytelling. This is going to be very awesome because I love when we talk about storytelling in our life. So we'll be right back.
Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. We're going to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Ta-da! We are back. Yes. So if you're just chiming in, this is the time to shine a happiness show with yours truly, the BBs, and our wonderful, wonderful. We have a woman today, so I call her Queen. A wonderful lady that's come in and going to talk about storytelling, PeggyLee Hanson. Welcome, Queen. How are you doing? I love your books in the background.
Thank you. Thank you. Hello, beautiful queens yourself. So happy to be here.
Yeah.
Yes. We are happy for you to be here. And first, before you even start about who you are, because you're this magnificent, wonderful, just tremendous woman that's helping people put their stories out of your lives with your anthologies and magazine and everything. I just want to say thank you for coming, because I know you and Barbara know each other, but I always have to tell you I'm showing the love too. I feel like I've been knowing you for a while, even though I just met you now. So welcome, welcome, welcome.
Well, we have some things in common, like Toastmasters in Wisconsin.
Okay.
District 35.
Yes, 30. Oh my, yes, my sister. That's my sister district. Because even though Wisconsin District 30 in Chicagoland area, that's where I started everything. And I've been in it for now 17 years. How long for you?
I was a member for 5 years. I took a little hiatus because I wanted to start my business. My business was taking off, and being in leadership in Toastmasters was a whole gig on itself.
Yes.
And but I considering going back in. So, but once you're Toastmaster,
you're always a Toastmaster.
Life.
You're always a Toastmaster. Hey,
yes.
You never know. See the stories. You never know. You find out what you have in common. So this goes right into what you do, Miss Queen.
Yeah, and and that's the story behind the anthology, the series. So, just I guess I could start there. In 2018, shortly after I left, it was being a Toastmaster and leadership in Toastmasters. You get to hear thousands of stories, and because you travel around. Well, for me, it was traveling around the state of Wisconsin and Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and to hear the stories, to hear the well, let's see, they hold 2 contests every year, the humorous speech contest and the international speech contest. And so, they start at the club level, and then they go to the area, and then they go to the regional, and so you gradually get up to, if you're lucky enough, the international speech contest in August. And so, but as a leader, I heard thousands of stories, and they were so profound. Some of them were funny, but some were so deeply touching. I just felt there's got to be a way to somehow get those stories out and to have them live beyond the Toastmasters stage, because they needed to be heard. And so I thought, how am I going to do this? And then it was like one morning I woke up and it was just like, duh, you're a publisher, you can write your own anthology series, and have people come and join and tell their stories. So I developed the idea in 2016, but it took me a while to get it out the door. I was on an interview show, much like this, called Gratitude Thursday. And I didn't really know the master of ceremonies all that well, but she looked at my bio on my website, and she says, "Oh, I see you're doing a series of Courage Under Siege, and she says, "What's all that about?" And I'm thinking, no, I'm not ready to produce it. I'm not ready, But, I said, well, it's about, women telling their stories, or men, men can join too, but they haven't yet. And it's about stories from where they were back in the day to where they are today and how they got there and what they learned from it. And I had 2 people sign up right away on the phone. I'm signing up. I'm going to your website, and register for it. So, and we had 11 people in that first volume. And it was just an amazing experience and a learning experience for me. I not only published the stories of the people, but they were similar in the stories. They had common experiences, and the people that came to me didn't know one another. So that makes it, and that has been throughout the books. And I'm publishing my 7th volume in November. And the women that are involved there, they didn't know each other from Adam. And they are surprised to learn how much they have in common. Right down to the same phrases, the same themes. And so you can't make this up. Somebody else is in charge of this book. So,
Yeah.
Amazing story.
Well, first of all, congratulations on, I love how the MC or the person that basically said, oh, I looked at your website and I see that. What is this? That started it right there. Sometimes you just need that, even the nudge that you didn't think you was going to get the nudge. And somebody just comes and like, oh, shoot, I didn't want to do that. Well, here I am. Let me just do this. So that's just like taking that parachute and jumping off that cliff.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you did, because look at how many people, women and men, like you said, that's being able to tell their story, write it on pen and paper so the whole world can hear it and get hope. See, that's why I always tell people our stories, for me, I always say, gives hope to others when you tell it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I think one of the things for me is when PeggyLee said, so we find out that we are so much more similar than we are different, because we all come from different walks of life, different ethnic, different countries, different economical status, and yet we have so many things in common.
Yeah, I love that.
Inner things.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, because I think because I've been on a few anthology books, and when I did my first one, and it took like 12 weeks, because we had to start with the whole process, like you said, writing the chapter. First of all, getting the nerve to write your chapter, getting the nerve to put your story out there. Maybe it's something it was so strong in your life, you're like, oh God, I got to come back to this. And that's what happened to me. I had to go back in time, and just thank God for the publisher, because she even hired certain counsel for us, just in case we needed it, because she knew that we had to dig deep and bring some things out that maybe we didn't want to touch or we didn't want to think about. And just to get the courage to do that, I tell every person that's an author that has to put that out there. It's just phenomenal that you can have that courage to do that and have a publisher like yourself, PeggyLee, to be on that journey with everybody. And then we're on the journey together, like you said, and then we become like a family almost, because like you said, we're all in this book together. We're all talking about, our story, and we find the same similarities. And then from that point on, then we carry each other on as we're going through the journey within the anthology. So to me, it's much more than just a book. It's so much more. Yes.
Yeah. It's a cathartic process. And that term has been used by at least one author throughout the whole series. And it was something, and I didn't realize what I was actually doing, after the first volume came out. I had one person said, man, I thought I was over this story, but yet when I tell it again, I'm still having feelings about this. So it was more processing that I needed to do to get over this. And I didn't realize what I was doing to help people to get further away from that story, so that there wouldn't be any more reaction. Not to say that if they tell it again, that they aren't going to have some reaction, but to be in a space to have not the same reaction that they did before, because we're all in the learning process as we go.
Yeah. Yeah. I love you. She said that because I went through that I thought I was healed. I'm just using the example because I can get my own self in trouble. I thought I was healed. And after I had to tell that story again, go through it in that chapter, I found some places where I needed healing again. I thought I was good in some areas, and found out I was still, dealing with some things that's what's stopping me from moving forward in certain things in my life at that time too. Especially in my career goals as a business. Now I've been working forever, corporate and everything like that. So I was used to that, but I want to step into the, having my own and doing my purpose, as I tell people. And I was like, why is it so hard for me to do this? And then after I went through the whole thing with the story, bringing that back up, I said, oh, I see. I need healing in here. I'm still dealing with this. It's stuck in my back of my head saying you can't do it. Somebody said you can't do it. And people would tell me that when I was younger. They would always say, you can't do nothing, you're stupid, everything. So that was starting to creep back up in my adulthood. But by writing my story again, it helped me get through that and say, well, you're doing the book. You're writing a chapter. What are you talking about, Barbara? These people, they're not, they get them out your ear. Get yourself out your ear. So yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of healing.
Back in 2009, and the reason why all this started, back in 2009, I got my pink slip from Northwest Airlines. And it was the time, it stemmed from the 2008 depression or recession. And, they had to, Delta and Northwest were merging at the time. And I was told that my services were no longer needed. I could have been depressed. I could have been, absolutely going bonkers. But I made a decision at that time that I can do anything that I wanted to do. I was free to make I got to backtrack a little bit. About a year and a half before I was let go, I sat down at my desk and I wrote down a list of items that I wanted to accomplish or I wanted to happen before the age of 55. I was 49 years old at the time. Little did I know 3 years later, that list would be jumping off the page. And that list was not having to commute 80-mile round trip per day, have a profitable business, work from home. I can't remember the whole list, but I mean, it was just coming true. So by the time the manager called me into the office and said that I wasn't going to be going on with the new Delta, I was thrilled. I was jumping up and down, even though I didn't do it in front of her, but she just looked at me and she said, "Are you all right? Are you going to be okay?" And I said, "I'm going to be more than okay." And I got up, walked out her office, and the people, I went back to my desk later and they said, "You're smiling. How come you're smiling?" And I said, "Because I'm free. I can finally choose what I want to do for the rest of my life." I had no idea what that was going to look like. So, except for writing a book. So I wrote a book. I found someone and she helped me write her book, she helped me write my book. And so I published it by, September of 2009. By November of 2009, I was on stage in front of 120 people talking about writing that book, and it wasn't very big. It was only 88 pages. and really big font and not a whole lot text, on every page, but I had a book published and it was done. And I came off that stage and I had my first coaching client, my first book coaching client. She turned around and she said, I have a book. I have a story to tell. And she was a grandmother raising her 2 granddaughters while her daughter was serving in Iraq. So she was a grandparent being a parent again. And she said, I want to tell my story. I already have it written. And so we became friends after that. And, and she got to tell her story. I didn't publish her story because I didn't know what to do with her story at that particular time. I said, well, you can talk to, Donna, who put me on stage and, talk with her. And so that's where I consider the jump off point to my business. I'm also a dream coach. That was my point for going to that conference, because I wanted to become a dream coach under Maya Marsha. Now she is.
Reader. Me too.
And, so in the next year, 2010, I spent all that year with Marsha and became one of her dream coaches. And so I have that piece to help build the dreams and wishes of people who want to do something more with their lives and attain that. And so the two businesses that I had, coaching or book publishing, coaching, book publishing. And I had my marketing mentor tell me, just pick one, just decide. I would choose the coaching one, and a book publisher and a book client would come in. And I said, okay, so I'll do that. And then a coaching client would come in. And I was just like, what am I going to do? So I did decide that I'm going to combine the two. So, and that's what I do in Courage Under Siege too, because a lot of my authors think that, they can't write. They're not a writer. They can't write, but I make the process for them.
Yes.
Give them a process. So I developed the process, and now it's the 5 elements of writing, content. So,
yeah, I was gonna ask you, PeggyLee, because I know you mentioned that there is a formula to your story to make it flow. So can you just give us a little steps on that?
Yeah, the first thing to writing your story is that you have to have a message with your story. And so what is the most important thing that you want to say? So, you would write that down. So your message is the first item of business in the process. And the second item that I have is, what is a quote that you say a lot to people, or you might have a quote that you say a lot to people, instead of somebody else's, famous quote, like Maya Angelou. And so have a quote that really speaks to what you were about to say. And then tell a little bit about your backstory, because you can't get to point A to point B, without having a starting point. So tell people what you do, where have you been? What made you the kickoff point for you to start? So, and then you get into the main story. So that this is where you really divulge everything. And if you have a process that goes along with it, like a step process, put in your 5 steps or 10 steps or 3 steps, but include that in the main story. And let's see. And then I think then it's the wrap up. So really hone in by telling, by putting everything together, showing them how from where you came to where you are today, and how that's helped you, but has helped others. And so that is the process that I teach.
Yes.
Right.
I love that. And I love how, like you said, you tell your story, but then you also at the wrap up, the wrap up, you say, okay, I went through this, then that aha, because I always tell you there's some kind of aha moment. Something happens where you were before to now where you are now. It's like this bridge that happens. And a lot of people want to hear that part because they might be struggling in that area, and they want to hear how PeggyLee or Barbara or both Barbaras went through and how they got through it, or how they dealt with it, or how it was a challenge, or what learning it, whatever it was. So I love how you said that, where, okay, this is what I went through, but then this is what happened, and now I'm over here. And then on top of that, you want to say, and I want everybody else to know that there is hope in this area. So when you said the message is so important, because I used to say before, and I know I sound kind of abrupt with people sometimes when they say, well, I want to tell my story. And I said, okay, first and then after a while, especially in Toastmasters, this is a Toastmaster thing. I'm like, well, what's the reason? What's the purpose for the story? I mean, why you're just telling the story to tell it? Okay, that's okay. It's entertainment maybe, but is there other reasons why? So that's when you really take it to that next level. Like you said, PeggyLee, with your process, because it's nice to tell a story, but a lot of times we tell it because we're trying to get a message out there. We're trying to help somebody. So yeah, that's the other part of it.
Yep. So that process works for a speech writing. It works for writing a chapter. It works for writing an entire book. So it's all encompassing.
Right.
And I think the biggest thing is just start. Start with words on a page. Start with the very first thing. And I think that's what so many people, they let other situations around them to stop them. The voices in their heads, the circumstances, all of those things will, people who you want to do what? You want to write a book? Why would you want to write a book? Well, don't listen to them.
Absolutely.
Don't listen to them.
When you said that, Barbara, that reminded me how I was when I first wrote my first chapter 10 years ago. That's what I was saying. You said, you want a book? You don't even know. You got to edit that thing because you're bad at grammar, Barbara. I mean, all that was going in my head. And then the publisher said, that's why we have editors. I'm like, well, I said, well, you need 2 of them for me. Because I know I need some help. But she said, don't let that stop you, because we have the experts to help you get through that. Just write it. Like you said, Barbara, just write it, start writing it. And that's what I started
start writing.
Yeah.
And I allow my authors to write authentically, and I don't change a whole lot in their story because I want their voice to come out, because it's who they are. So I do some editing and light editing, and kind of rearrange things, might make the story easier to follow. But if you're stumped about what to write, you sit down, you put your fingers on the keyboard, open up that document or open up the journal and just say, well, I don't know where to start, but, and that's the first line that you write. And then let it flow. And then things will come. Because someone is waiting to hear what you have to say. Yes. Don't let them wait any longer.
Ooh, that's powerful. That's like a mic drop. I like that. Don't let them wait any longer. Barbara, isn't that awesome? I love that.
That's a mic drop. And it's absolutely the truth.
Yes.
And don't let someone else, if you want to write a book or a chapter, don't let someone else's fears stop you.
Or your own.
And that's all it is.
Yeah.
And because they're in their mind, they're just saving you, or they're just, protecting you. Yeah. No, they're afraid that, what if she does it? Am I gonna? I might have to think about doing it myself. And that's when in the first part when we were talking about change, people don't want to change because they don't want to change what they believe. Because what if what I believe that is different than what my peers around me? And what if I realize that I have to take action on my new belief? And that sometimes is scary. So people tend to, they get back from
Thank you. Thank you very much for your opinion. I value you highly. And leave it at that and do it anyway.
Thank you, PeggyLee, for giving me the words to say to people. I needed that script. You're so right. Thank you very much for your opinion. Now I'm going to keep moving on here. Yeah, but sometimes it takes a process, like you said, and Barbara was saying earlier about change. Sometimes it does take, it's not easy sometimes because you're so used to be like, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't, whatever. But then, like you said, PeggyLee, sometimes you got to get that confidence and be like, you know what? Thank you. I'm going to first thank you for saying your opinion. You want to say that, but then I still have to do what I have to do and go back to what you said, PeggyLee, like, don't make them wait. Don't let people wait. People are waiting. I always tell people, I said, people are waiting on things that you do, your special gift, to have them move forward in whatever they're doing. But if we hold back, then you know how many other people we might be holding back. Yeah,
absolutely. You have no clue.
You have no clue. Even if it's just that one person, me and Barbara always say, even if it's just that one person, it's so important.
All you need is one.
Yeah. Oh, this is awesome. This is awesome. See, this is, we got to bring you back. Barbara, you know how the goes. We got to bring her back. PeggyLee, this was amazing. And then now and we're Toastmaster alumni too. This is awesome. So I want Barbara to do her last part that we always do to remind everybody, but just make sure that you tell your story, like PeggyLee said. It's very important. And if you want to put it on paper and pen, call PeggyLee. She's the publisher, CEO of the company, and she has a free gift for everybody. So I wanted to make that known too. We have it down there. I'll let it run for a little bit longer while we end.
But, and that explains the 5 points, the 5 elements to writing.
Yeah. Once you get the formula and fit it in, like she said, you could do it for anything, not just your book. So I love that. I love that you could take that tool in the different areas. So Barbara, I just want to give you the last, and before we close up here.
Right. And this has been absolutely a wonderful subject because it's all about bringing ourselves happiness. And I loved what you said about what is one thing that you say. And one of the things that I say all the time is do the thing that makes your heart sing. And it's absolutely the truth. And because no one else can take it from you. Because it's what makes your heart sing. And we want you to have that, make happiness the norm rather than the exception. So absolutely. So do what makes your heart sing. And do it today. Start today.
Yes. And with that said, we will see everybody next Wednesday with another special guest, Queen PeggyLee. Thank you so much. We adore you and we welcome you back. You are family now. So anytime you want to come back, we're here for you. We're here to serve you. See you next week. Bye.
Bye, everybody. Well, goodbye, everybody. And thank you so much for listening to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. I'm your host, Barbara Ellison, and I look forward to seeing you next time where we will have a great guest talking about making happiness the norm rather than the exception Because you know what? We believe that each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant life, whatever that means to you. So join us again. And please, to get reminded, hit the subscribe button or the like button wherever you're listening to us. And we will see you next time. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.